Trail Talk Live every Monday for you, Tuesday for me. Talk about the news and banter. We talk about the training, talk about what's happening in the sport, and we have a bit of crack along the way. Got to give a shout out to the sponsors: XMiles, Tantrums, GOREWEAR. Links are in the description. Links are in the bio wherever you're watching this. And if you can't stick around now on Instagram, catch up on Spotify, YouTube, or Apple. But since that's out of the way, mate, how's it going? How's your training going? You're looking happy. Go, over to you.
Yeah. Look, I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty tired. I'm not going to lie. I'm pretty tired. Like it was a big week last week. We'll get into numbers in a minute, but yeah, good week. Uh, like this place is pretty cool, man. Tantrums is definitely not what I expected. Like I always thought that it was just going to be a place for road runners, and it was going to be tarmac everywhere, and you're just looking at the mountains, and like even the first day I got here, it was like the mountains are there, you can almost touch them, and you think, oh man, that's where I want to be. I want to be up there. I don't want to be around the roads. But like straight away I realized that, you know what, it's not like that at all. There's a mix of everything here. Like I think that this is definitely a place for both road and trail runners to come here, get fit, get some serious altitude training, and yeah, definitely put it on your bucket list.
It's up at 1800 meters, right?
Right now, I'm sitting at 1850. That's where we are. Yeah.
That's class.
Yeah, and
Like
just literally like run up the hill, man. Just run up the hill, and you're at 2,100 meters.
the, yeah, the highest point that I got to sleep during Tour de Jean was at just over 1800 meters, and you could drive the whole way up there, and then like 20 minutes you had hiked up to 2000. Uh, but that's class. It must be. Is it not cold?
No, like it's been really uh odd. Like the weather keeps telling us, oh, tomorrow's going to be rain, right? Then it just doesn't rain. It's like it's just going the other side of the mountain all the time, and we're just missing it. And we're getting like we've got a balcony out the side of the apartment here, and it's like 10 meters long, this balcony. It's huge, like, and we have the sun on us all day. So when we're just sitting there after the run, we're getting the sun on us. It's just following us around. Okay, if you're not in the sun, it's a little bit cold, but it's still like, you know, 12, 13 degrees. But in the sun, it feels like it's about 25 degrees. It's like really hot. And then I suppose that's like because we're up so high and the air is so thin, like it definitely feels a lot warmer than what our phones and our watches are telling us it is. Yeah, the only issue I'm having is like you just don't know how good a quality sleep you're getting, you know? Like it feels like it's hard to get to sleep here, you know? I'm going to bed at 9 o'clock in the evening and I'm wrecked, and I'm not sleeping until about 12 o'clock. Yeah, this is my bedtime, man.
You'll be
It's my
going to bed soon.
bedtime. Yeah. But it's just like you can't fall asleep the way I'd fall asleep at home. And I'm great. I'm usually really, really good for sleeping. So whether that's the altitude, whether that's the train, and either I just don't know. But at the same time, I am getting lots of sleep. Like I'm getting about 7 hours, maybe 7.5 hours every night, you know. How good a quality that is, I don't know. But
But I
luckily
guess
for
like
me, right?
if you're
Yeah, go.
sleeping, you're sleeping.
Yeah.
But are you feeling like you're tossing and turning all night? Because don't they say that like sleeping at altitude is more difficult? Like it's harder to just sleep, and that's the biggest part of recovery.
Yeah, like in my head, I think I'm tossing and turning. You know, I wake up and I feel like I've been tossing and turning. But like, look, again, I'm not a slave to me watch, but when I look at me watch and it's telling me I had this amount of sleep, I'm going, well, maybe I wasn't tossing and turning. I don't know, you know, it's
Maybe
because,
you were getting more light sleep than if you're at home, you might be getting more deep sleep.
yeah, I think that's what it is. Yeah. Now, look,
What
at the same time, I
we're
feel
both
fine, and
chorus guys. We're both
hmm.
chorus guys. So like, are you? What are the stats saying?
Yeah, so like for last night, my REM, which is the one that I'm really looking at, is my REM was 219 last night, you know. And that's pretty good actually. That's pretty good for your REM. Now my HRV, that's elevated. Like that's elevated. So that tells me that, that you're not just getting that quality that you'd be getting if you were at sea level, like.
But also you're training like a madman, and that would affect the
Yeah.
HRV as well. So
Yeah, yeah,
we
yeah,
can't blame that on the
exactly. Yeah.
altitude. So, well, let's like we're got in today's podcast, we're going to talk about the training as we always do, and then we're going to touch on a lot of the things that have happened over the past little while in the kind of the ultra trail news, give some opinions on that. But like, let's just dig into the training. Week one, what you had like 200 Ks or something?
209, almost just shy of 210 kilometers. Yeah, yeah. Which is really impressive, right? Because again, I'm not chasing hills, I'm not chasing mountains. I'm running on on flatter ground, which seems like it's flatter ground, but every run you go on here, you're touching like 300, 400 meters of climbing. If you're doubling, you know what I mean? I hit like over 2,500 meters of climbing in that week as well. So like for me, that was a huge week. 209 kilometers, over 2,500 meters of climbing, and every single one of those runs was a quality run. As in, there was no easy days, man.
Mate, I think every run you did was faster than my fastest run.
like look, I was talking to Foxy about this, and I was look, we're me and Mick Fox. So Mick Fox is over here, he's training with me. Mick is going to try and break 220 in Dublin Marathon this year. He's very, very fast, very, very strong. And before I came out here, like, we're friends, so I've been looking at like what he does on a daily basis, right? And I'm always looking at his training, and I'm kind of comparing it to mine, because it's like road trail. It's just interesting to see the similarities and the differences and stuff like that. And I'm looking at him, and he's always running at that sort of 4:15 a kilometer, right? All of his runs, all of his, let's say, his easier days, and his every other day is like 4:15 a kilometer. And I'm like going, how does he do it? Like, I don't understand that, right? And yes, I'm sure somebody looks at mine and they see that I run a lot of 4:30s, 4:35s in most of my training, and not a lot of easy runs. And Foxy is the very same. He doesn't do a whole pile of easy runs. So when I was coming out here, I was thinking, all right, I'm going to have to like just up my game a little bit and run at that kind of that 4:15 effort. And we're here at altitude, and after running with him for a week, I feel like I'm able to stay with him at that pace with the same heart rate that I would have at home running at 4:30. And remember, we're at like 18, 19, sometimes 2,000 meters here. Like, so
And
it's,
that's got to
it's,
be worth, like, whenever you come back down to sea level, that has to be worth what? Point 0.1, point 0.2 per K?
has to be, right? Has to be. Like, I heard top Irish coach Emmett Dunleavy basically say that if you're training at altitude, and let's say you're running at 4:20 a kilometer here, that's worth about 4:05, back home, maybe four
Okay.
minutes, So you're working much harder here, to maintain that same effort. Like, so it's only going to be a huge benefit to me, and at the same time, I do feel stronger. Like, I don't think it's just in my head. I just feel like I do feel stronger. I'm not carrying any niggles. I'm not carrying any injuries. And every day I wake up, I'm a bit tired, and the first few 100 meters are a bit like, oh, you're blowing out your ass a little bit, but then you're back into it, and it's just, yeah, okay, we're just here for a run again.
Well, like, that's the thing. Because you're at altitude, the body has less oxygen in the blood cells, so it creates more cells so it can carry more oxygen. So then you go back to sea level and you have more oxygen carrying capacity, and therefore your muscles are getting more oxygen and that you get the benefit. But God help you, mate, for blowing out your ass for 100 meters and then doing 200 Ks a week at probably all under 440.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Like, look, it's going to be very interesting to see. Like, look, obviously, I'm training for Mallorca. You're training for your race. Is funny, right? For whatever reason, I know it's called the CPT, right? Yeah,
GPT.
GPT. But all I keep saying in my head is Chat GPT. That's all I keep saying in my head, going, yeah, yeah, Aaron's training for Chat GPT. Because because I only downloaded Chat GPT the other day, and like I keep saying it when I'm talking about your race to somebody. Yeah, yeah, he's doing Chat GPT 100 over in Australia.
Fuck's
Fucking
sake.
Egypt. But
It's
like,
the Grampian Peaks Trail. And
yeah,
I
yeah,
feel
yeah.
like it's really unlucky for them that it's like, imagine if your name was McDonald and you were christened Ronald, and then McDonald's got popular when you were 10 years old or something. I was like,
Yeah,
fuck, there's Ronald
exactly.
McDonald.
Yeah.
There's Burger Man.
Yeah, the chat GBT thing, it just rolls off your tongue now, that's just straight away what comes into my head. And I'm like, quit saying that. But like what I was saying is like, you're training for that race, I'm training for Mallorca. For me, I'm very interested to see how I go because I'll have done this block, which is a very condensed block, but it's been quality, right? And then 2 weeks before that, I was at Worlds, and only a couple of weeks before that, I was in Chamonix. So that's 3 stints at altitude where I was up high, back down at sea level, back home, back up high, back down at sea level, at home, recovering, and getting that benefit of going back down to sea level, recovering, and then going again. So, like, this just worked out seriously well for me. Like, and I jumped at this opportunity. So I'm like going, I cannot wait to see what this does for Mallorca. Like, I'm going to Mallorca kind of like almost chest out, shoulders back. I'm going in pretty confident that I can have a good day there.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, what are the things that we're gonna see after this block? We've talked about like the first week, and you're in your like I can't fucking hell. Someone just phoned me on WhatsApp.
Do not
Um,
disturb.
I had it on. Um, but like, what are the things that we're looking to see in week two, and then you're going straight into 2 week taper? Is that right?
Yeah, so this last week 209, 210, and then this week it'll be closer to that 100 miles. So like it'll be a 100-mile week this week. So we're coming down. Again, we'll have good elevation in this week as well because we're going to be spending a bit more time up high, up where there's more hills. There's a little bit more hills. Like that's the thing about Mick. Like Mick is Foxy, right? Foxy actually loves running hills. Like he's very, very strong in the hills. And he kind of looks at it as like hidden speed work. He does his really hard sessions on the flat down at the lake where all the world champs are. There's a load of elites down there. They're just running laps at the lake. He likes to come up here and train on the hills and use the hills to get strong. Like I'm telling you, he's so strong on the climbs. The only thing I'd be thankful is that he doesn't run on the trails. I'm telling you, he's legit. Like so, I'd be like, man, I hope you never ever come over to the trails.
But I think I remember you ran with him in the mornings, and maybe he wasn't the best at going downhill.
True, true, true.
He
And he would be the first to admit that, but like, by spending time with him here, you understand the level that he's willing to go to be good. I know that if he ever did want to go to the trails, he'd figure out how to run down fast, I think.
so like going back to that original point, what differences do you reckon you'll see in the Mallorca race from this block or end of block or mini block of high turnover?
Yeah, so what the kind of thing I'm looking to see is that I know I can run pretty quick. I know that if I run steady, I can run steady for a long time. So what I want to see is can this extend that? As in, let's say 80K into the 100K distance. Can I just be like, okay, let's go now. Let's move. Let's get to 80K and actually be in a kind of condition that okay, I'm going to be hurting, but I have to be confident that I can push harder, that I can extend that steady pace all the way to the finish, and that's kind of what I'm hoping this has done for me, because my turnover is really good. I've done the hard sessions here, and then again all at altitude, so I can only imagine that the endurance gains I'm getting for the longevity of a 100k race is where it's going to stand to me.
Yeah, you would think like the whole point, not the whole point, but like one of the benefits of doing the speed work is then the easier and all of the paces take a bump because you're
Yeah,
like you're stretching out your range. So if your steady pace was, let's say, let's just say 4:30, and you're then getting down into the 3:30s and things in some of the tempo runs or whatever you want to call them, you're maybe bringing that down. So
yeah.
over the course of, if you've got like a 20k section that's runnable in that, that might be worth like 5 minutes of time.
Exactly, exactly. And like the mad thing about it here is like, so the session I did the other day, it was a 32k run, it was a 5k warm up, 5k to cool down, and then it was 10 by 1k with a 1k float. Let's say the kilometers where I was pushing, I was down around that sort of 320, 325, in around there. Now again, this was all kind of like to suited to the terrain. It was very up and down. It was very rolly. So you might have a 320, but then you might have a 230, even a two or 330, 335. But the effort was the same. Do you know what I mean? The effort was hard. But what I found was my float was always around 417,
And it felt
415,
easy as hell, right?
and yeah, and you're just scared, like, and then my cool down, my last 5k, I was having to try and slow down to run at like closer to that 430 because I was saying, stop running at 411. The session's over, but your legs just want to do that,
Yeah.
like, because and that's a brilliant feeling, like, it's like that's a big confidence builder, and that's why I'm here, like, that's why I'm training with Michael there, with Foxy, because that they're the gains that I want to get, like.
Like, I feel like when you look at the training you've been doing over the past couple of years, this kind of stands out as something totally new.
Yeah,
And there has to be great benefits from just that polarization. People talk about polarizing in a training block or in a season, and that's it. Like you think about the session, the block you've done with poles, the block you've done in the morns, and training for worlds. They're all very different to this. So you're just like,
yeah.
I feel like when you bring it together, you just come out of it a more complete athlete.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's how I'm feeling about it as well. Like, and that's the thing I wanted to come out of it as well. I wanted to take on that challenge and run with, and also, like, I'm not afraid to admit that Foxy's a much faster runner than me, that he's a much stronger road runner than I am. You know what I mean? Like, he's, but at the same time, I wanted to challenge myself to push myself to try and get better. You know what I mean? Like, there's no point hiding in the shadows all the time and expecting that what you're doing is the only way to train. Like, whereas this guy's doing it week in, week out. He's running huge mileage. Like, he's touching 200Ks every week. Like, so like for me to come here, I want him to take me along with him and just show me what he does on a daily basis, and then see how I can use that, as well as just not just now, I mean in the future as well, and like be confident that I can run that sort of high mileage, not week in, week out, but within a block, I can be brave enough to say, right, I'm going to go 170, 180, 190, 200K, like he'll have actually had more. So he had an extra half marathon done than me. So he had closer to that 230, 235 for the week.
Yeah. So do you reckon after this, I mean, maybe if I reframe this, if you think about like the old ultra trail kind of taking place from different training styles, there used to be the off-season marathon block. This is like a little bit like that, but not the full block, just a chunk of it. Because like the
Mm.
sessions that you're doing, K on, K off and stuff, 32 Ks, that's like a marathon session.
Yeah, but I also think that's a very good ultra marathon training session as well. Like I've done that like at home, that's kind of one of my favorite sessions at home where I might do a 22K run and I might have like 7 on, 7 off, and I'll keep that float like 420, 430. I just feel like that's a good session for always having a good turnover so that your steady is just getting stronger because you are doing those faster intervals in between, and it's just a nice workout. The only problem is I probably just don't do enough of that at home, So I'll be leaving here kind of going, all right, you need to do more of this, and don't be afraid to like have your hard session on the road rather than always kind of picking my trail day for my trail long run for the session, because that's just something that I like doing and I enjoy that. Like maybe sometimes I need to just actually go against my comfort zone and do a hard session like a road marathon runner, because look, the sport is getting faster all the time. We see it, you know what I mean? And a lot of the really, really good trail pros at the minute, most of them have a track background. Like they're seriously fast marathon runners as is.
Yeah, but they're not doing marathon blocks. You might say Tom Evans last year, like a cross country block or a little bit of speed and then a cross country season, which essentially is built is working on strength as well because that type of ground and that type of running, like cross country, is something that builds strength at that higher intensity.
Mm. But I do think though, like you could incorporate a lot of let's say the race is different for UTMB. Yeah, totally different, right? You don't want to be training like a marathon runner for UTMB. You want to be hiking, doing loads in the actual mountains. But if you're training for something like Western States, a road marathon block is only going to benefit you in that race because there is so much running and so much fast running to be done in that race.
Yeah. So what else have we got to before we wrap up your part of the training? So what are we gonna look forward to next, or as you finish off this week?
Yeah, so this week again, we're very like aware of getting through these 2 weeks, fit and healthy and safe as well. So this week is a little bit easier. We'd still be doing our probably one session this week, one hard session this week, which would probably be either Wednesday or Thursday, and then we'd be just running steady all the rest of the week. And then I come home, and then I've got pretty much 2 weeks before Mallorca, so I'll be doing another decent week, but obviously a bit less mileage. And then I'm then kind of into a taper week then for the race, and my race is 1st of November. I forget what date is your race again? I keep asking you.
It's a week after yours on the Friday.
Yeah, that's great though. I think that's great because mine will be done then, and I can just sit back and watch yours. Like,
Yeah, you can watch the Chat GPT 100 Miler.
but yeah. So now, like, look, let's talk about you. We'll say I seen that you had some great training days this weekend. You had two big back-to-back days, and then you ended up with some decent numbers. You had about 145, 150K, maybe five and a half, 6,000 meters of climbing.
Yeah, 145 Ks and 5,500 meters. It was like 19 hours of running, 18, 19 hours of running, and then I had like a couple of hours on the bike as well. So I haven't had a rest day or day off in like probably it must be coming on 3 weeks. I've just been taking my rest day as like 2 hours on the bike, just like low watts, like I don't know, 120 watts or something, 2 hours, just like 90 cadence, just to spin things up. Because even like when you're doing volume and it's like mountain volume, it's not like you've got super tight calves from like marathon training or speed work.
Yeah,
It's just your body all over feels tired. So I've been doing that on the bike as my rest day. And also, like, I haven't been programming out a plan weeks in advance. So I'm not planning when the rest days are. I'm just like, if I can run, I'm running. And if I feel
yeah,
like I
yeah.
need a
Because
rest, I'll jump on the bike. And I haven't felt like I needed it. Like yesterday, the past couple of weeks, I've done a medium long run into a long run, and then the day after the long run, I've been doing like a steady run.
Yeah, like
Just
what you
this,
did yesterday.
yes, and the
Yeah,
week and last week I did the same thing, and yesterday, like I felt tired and like I felt like I'd been in a fight
yeah.
the day yesterday morning. But see, when I got up and went out for an hour's walk with the dogs, and then come back, had another coffee, banged the gel, and went out for the run, mate, felt great. Legs
I'm
just
telling you, yeah, that's something that I've always liked to do. Is if I did a big day in the mountain on a Saturday, I would like to do a steady or a tempo run on the Sunday. I just feel that it just mixes the two runs together. You're getting that strength and endurance from the trail run the day before, and you've been out for hours. Like I know you were out for like 7 hours or something, and then you're spinning it up nearly 360 into like a quicker tempo pace run, and I just think they are such a you get such a boost off that kind of a mix of training.
I kind of looked at it like if you do back to back like that, you could do two long back to backs. But if you do a long run and then the next day you do a bit of higher tempo, it's like a similar stimulus as this two longies back to back.
Yeah,
But honestly, like the long run, the lads I was doing it, we just took a lot longer to do it. So I think it was like 45, 50 minutes longer than the previous week when I did it on my own. So it was like
yeah,
super easy effort. And it was probably more tired because of the length of time I was out there. Plus it's a
yeah,
2 hour drive either side of it. So I had to meet those guys at 4 a.m. So I was up at 3 to go and collect them at 4. And we got to the mountains for sunrise at 6. And
yeah,
then I think I got home at like 5 o'clock in the evening. A proper full
yeah.
day.
Like 13, 14 hours out, like, you know what I mean? Wow, wow, yeah. Yeah, but but then and then like because that was it. Like I looked at your Strava yesterday, and I went, "Oh, look at this! He was moving. You were moving well, and so I was delighted to see that. You know, because like you could easily go out there. You could have easily took a rest day. You could have, you know, you could have said, "Nah, I'm going to take an easy day around 45K, whatever in the mountains. I'm going to take a rest day." So no, it's great to see that you're just sort of saying, no, we keep the legs spinning. Don't need a rest day. Don't feel tired. If I feel tired, get on the bike, spin the legs for a while. That's your kind of easy, and then you're back at it. Like,
I'm not trying to muscle through it or push through it. Like if I needed to take a rest day, I would have taken a rest day or jumped on the bike or whatever. But I was motivated to get out and see how do the legs feel, what's the turnover like. And whenever I got out, the turnover was good. And I was like, what are you, like, I'll do 60 minutes and that's that. But no, felt good. And it was it was like point, I think I did that run last week and it was 5:04 average. Now there was a bit more hills in it, and I did it yesterday. It was like 4:44,
4:44. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah,
and it's like I wasn't. I was like, I don't haven't been looking at heart rate or anything. I've got splits and everything turned off. But yesterday I was like, I don't want to be pushing up into tempo. So like the whole of the run, my heart rate was no higher than 150. And I was just
yeah,
thinking to myself, like, if I think back like 2 months at 150, I probably would have been half a minute per K slower than this. So I come back from it going, no, that's good. Fitness is there and seeing some improvements. But it's like that thing, you're like pushing both ends of the spectrum. You're going along and
yeah,
slow and hiking, and then you're also reminding your body, look, we got to have turnover, we have to run. You have to be motivated to run and get out there and do it. So I'm back up in the mountains tomorrow, another long one, and then I don't know what I'll do the day after that. I feel like Friday is 3 weeks to the race, so I'm doing another long run on Saturday, which will be probably 35K. Um, well, you know, maybe not as much vert, starting to taper down, but I think I should still hit like 140 or so for the week. Um, And then like I've been doing this stuff all with like Saturdays, the last two long runs, I'm doing it all with full mandatory kit. So there's nothing more annoying than packing two head torches into your bag for a day that you're gonna go out and run in 29 degrees in the sun.
Oh man.
But you
I'm
have to
on the
test the
other end of
kit.
the spectrum. Yeah, yeah. I'm completely like gone roadrunner style where I'm not even wearing me belt. Like I'm not even bringing a waist belt with me. You know, it's just I'm running with just shorts and a t-shirt because that's just the way we're running. We're getting the runs done, you know, in just under 2 hours at most of them, you know. So it's like, yeah, I need, because that's it. Like when I go home next week, I need to start putting the pack on and putting the bottles in and just getting used to that because you definitely want to get used to that, carrying that extra weight around you, 100%. Yeah. But there's another thing I was going to say to you is like neither of us have a coach, right? So we're not being coached at the minute, but and like if you had a coach or I had a coach, 100% they'd have been saying, all right, you need to like take a rest day because the volume you're running at, you know what I mean? You probably would have been told to take a rest day after that 45K race. And for anyone listening, they think, oh, but you're maybe doing too much or too little. It's like, look, we're at this long enough. We are listening to our bodies and we are aware that you wake up and you just see how you feel. If you feel good, you run. If you feel crap, you take a day off. That's that's it. Like I just wanted to say that just in case anyone ever thinks that, you boys, you can just run every single day. It's not that. It's like we're listening to our body and we're taking it day by day. And if I wake up tomorrow and I feel crap, I'll probably take a rest day. But if I feel good and my legs feel okay, then we keep going.
But you should know your body better than a coach. A coach is
Yeah,
looking at the numbers going, that's a long run. You should take it easy the next day. And they're programming it regardless of feeling. At
mm,
best, there's a text message involved. But a
yeah,
coach is always operating with this buffer of, I better not get this guy or girl injured. That
yeah,
is the number
yeah,
one thing. If I get them injured, they'll put the coaching on hold. I might lose a client. These are natural and normal and fine thoughts. Like if you're coaching, you want to protect your athlete from getting injured. But if you're self-coaching, you should be totally in tune. And that's why I've kind of ditched the heart rate monitor whenever I'm running, because I just want to dial in that feeling. I just want to
yeah,
be totally in tune with how I'm feeling and doing what feels natural. And feeling natural is like taking a rest day when you want a rest day and not thinking, I need to fucking make sure this Strava graph is beautiful. If it's not beautiful, it's not beautiful. It is what it is. But I will not get injured along the way because I'm just so in tune with where I am. The only way I'm getting injured is falling.
yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
getting an overtraining injury. Uh, and I took a couple of falls the other day, and honestly, it felt good to fall. A couple of guys
mm,
that was with, like Ben said, "Man, I think you maybe hurt yourself there." I'm like, "No, I'm fine." It felt good to fall because the
yeah,
last time I fell, I broke a rib,
yeah.
and it just reminded me most of the time you fall, you just get a cut or a graze. And you get up and you move on. You can't be frightened of falling.
Yeah, yeah. I did that today. Do you know what I mean? Because we say when I'm running with the lads and we're doing a trail roadie run, you know, and there is some technical bits in the forest and stuff like that.
Did you
But
fall?
they take it really easy on those sections, you know, and because they're taking it easy, I was taking it easy. But then today I said, no, 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 let her go here. Just let her go here because you have to remember this is what you do. This is your job here. So I just flew down, you know what I mean? And when I flew down, like Foxy said to me, he says, why did you do that? And I says, I had a little twinge in me quad there, so I wanted to hammer down and get rid of it, like, you know what I mean? Because it felt like my quads weren't doing what they're used to doing, if you know what I mean. So I was like, no, I'm going to hammer down this, and then when I get down there, the boys will just cruise up alongside me. It felt good to do that because, you know what I mean. If you're not practicing that and you're not keeping yourself and keeping your head doing what you do best. You know what I mean? I'd be always think, man, I'd forget how to do that, or I'd be afraid. I'd be afraid to hammer down a hill in a race or something like that. And that's the last thing you want when you're a trail runner. Like,
Is there a particular segment or section that you've been monitoring when you've been there? And like, were you able to judge your progress? Oh,
yeah,
last week I was doing this, I was this pace, felt easier. Is there anything like that? I always love things like that, personally.
yeah, like, cause we're doing kind of like we're doing a cross country loop, and then we're doing the lap of the lake. So I think it's Lake Matamal or something. That's where all the pros to be down there, and they're doing that. So there's loads of segments there, you know. So in the last 3 runs I've done there, every time I've ran, I've PR'd there, you know, and then I PR'd there again in my last session, which is always a good thing. That means, look, I was moving really well on that segment there, you know what I mean? But then again, I'm probably taking a bit too much confidence from that because I don't know exactly of where I hit that in the interval, you know what I mean? I could have hit that at a really good spot and been flying just for that K, you know, whereas in last week's session was 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute with a minute float in between each, you know. So there would have been maybe a little less speed in that 3K than there would have been in the kilometer intervals. But either way, I've been PRing in that lake, in that loop, and then in the cross country loop, the same again. There's some segments on some of the downhills, on the flats, and then on the climbs, and I seem to be PRing all the time, you know, which is great. Like, but then you're also getting used to the route as well, and you know when to push as well, and when to, you know what I mean, you know when to go. Kind of, you're just thinking, oh well, this is, I know this climb is coming up now, the next 5K is this, the next 10K is that, you know.
The route that I've been doing in the mountains, it finishes. I've said this to you, but it finishes with this climb, and depending on whether you do the route clockwise or anti-clockwise, if you do it anti-clockwise, it's like a 6.7K uphill, and every K is like 100 or slightly over or slightly under. It's just the whole way. It's like up to 20, 17, 22% at its steepest, and maybe there's a few sections around 9, 10. And I'm like, at the end, coming up to the end of the run, I'm like, I'm fueling to get ready for this climb. I'm like, this is my test at the end of the run. Can you run this again? Can you run
Yeah,
every step of this? And every time I go out and run it, I'm taking time off the segment. And even like the other day, like what was it? The shorter segment when you do it the other direction, it's 3.7K, but it's still nearly the same amount. Like it's still like 500 meters of climbing or something.
yeah,
And I took a minute off my time from, the other day. I'm like, yes, you've still got it in your legs, and it's swapping from that. When you're hiking, you're kind of using muscle, but when you're
yeah,
running, you're kind of using tendon. You're springing. So we're
yeah,
just getting up to this point on this dirt road, and like, okay, let's get the springs working and see if they can sustain. And man, it feels good to get that top of that hill and touch the gate and stop your watch and go, yes, I fucking ran it all. We're fit, boys. Let's
yeah.
go.
Yeah, because that's it too. Like it's hard to know. Like fitness is hard to gauge, right? It is. Like it's just I always say it. Like, and people think, "What are you talking about? Sure, how do you not?" I never really feel fit, you know, because when you're training hard, you're tired, you know, so you don't really know if you're fit or not. But they are things. That's just proof that you are getting fitter. You know, if you're doing the same loop and you're banging out PRs in those loops, then you can only take confidence from that because that's the proof that you are getting fitter. Like, but isn't it funny what you said about you went the other way, you know? And sometimes we were doing that, so we would do the loop one way, and there could be like 400 meters of climbing in that, and then we'd say, do you know what? We might do that loop the opposite way because I think there's a bit less climbing in it, you know, and it'll be a little bit easier on our legs or something like that. And then we do it, we're going, man, I think there's more climbing on it this way, you know. Yeah, they
Yeah,
always work out. There's not much in the difference of them, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the same stats. It's just accumulated in a slightly different way. Like if you go one
Yeah,
direction on this mountain loop I've been doing, it's really steep down after you're coming off the mountain, but it's a more
yeah,
gradual up and there's more scrambling. But if you do it the clockwise, it's super steep going up and then you have to down climb. So
yeah.
like we're you're just moving around the same puzzle in a different way, but it's still the same it's still the same game.
Yeah, like that's it. Like where you thought, oh yeah, well at least we won't have to run up that bit. Yeah, you won't, but you probably have to run up another bit that's even worse. Like you know what I mean. But it evens out, and it mixes it up too, and it means instead of just one loop, it's actually you've turned that into two loops, and then you can repeat that, and you just never get bored, and you're changing up muscle groups and everything. That's the one thing. That's the only thing we'll say that I find is a big difference between the kind of road running and the trail running is like when there's not big climbs here, there, and everywhere. I feel like I'm using the same muscle groups all the time, and my calves are getting a trashing. Do you know what I mean? And like I'm having to really like just keep an eye on my calves, keep them fresh, keep rubbing them out, just keeping them stretched because there's so much load going through your calves when you're pounding the road all the time.
Oh yeah, man, that's what kills me with speed work. You know, that just tightens up the legs so much for me. Before we move off, like the training update and tackle some of the news items that we thought were interesting, I've dialed in my kit. So I'd done a couple of runs with the gear, and I just couldn't get it into the Tantrums pack. So I swapped over, and on Sunday I used the Raid
Oh,
belt plus the Kailas pack. I think the Kailas pack is 8 liters. But it's the first pack. I'll send you a picture. I'll post a picture into the Trail Talk WhatsApp shoes and gear group. But the way they split the compartment at the back is you've got the one large pocket and it's closest to the skin. But then in front of that, it's split into three pockets and there's
yeah.
two layers in each. So whenever I saw a video of me from one of the lads took, it actually looks like there's four compartments. It's like the raid belt and then the three compartments on the Kailas vest. Mate, there's no bounce at all.
Yeah,
It's unbelievable.
I seen it because Killian Fleming had it at Worlds, so he had the Kailas vest. He had two of them with him. He had the orange one, he had the black and white one, and that's what he was showing me. He was showing me the pockets on the back of it. And I thought, oh, that's really nice, actually, just the way they are split, and it just leaves everything. So he had mandatory gear in there. He had something else that he needed to grab in there, and something else. And Killian's got like monkey arms. He's got an arm longer than my leg, so like it was great for him. He was able to get everything he wanted out of that pack. You know, he was just showing me how well it was working. Like,
But like the thing is, if you've just got one big pocket, you can't access the stuff that's in it. But if you've got three, you can get at the bottom, you can get at the middle, you can get at the top. So I was
yeah,
able to access all of the pockets without taking the pack off. My only criticism of it was it's not a boa dial. Let's call it a Chinese boa dial. It's got that, but I
oh,
think it needs to be reversible, to tighten it at the front. So you can tighten it with a boa, but then I always like to loosen the vest if I'm going uphill, just so you can get more like air into your lungs.
I know. Yeah.
And you have to pop the boa and then cinch it down to where you want it for uphill. So that's the only bit of faff.
Yeah, you
But
can't just ease it off. Yeah, it's
yeah,
all or nothing. Like, I know what you mean.
like
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
Speedland shoes, you can go both ways, I think. I think BOA have different types of dial, and there's one that goes tight or loosen. If this had a loosen, it would be, I mean, amazing. And also the bottles are good, but they're also a unique shape, so you can't use any of your other bottles.
Yeah, there's like a sort of a turn in the bottle, isn't there? It's like
Yeah, they're
it
they're sort of
goes
like
down.
diamond shape,
Yeah.
but they all have lock tops. So the pack actually comes with three bottles, and so and you don't have to have like I always, no matter what bottles I use now, I use the lock tops so I can stick an extra. You were always having to carry at least three bottles now. Um, so that's the other thing. Like the bottles are a bit awkward, but I guess I'm using a 600 ml in the raid, two 500s up front, and then an extra Kailas 500 bottle in the back.
Oh,
So
the way that sounds so heavy. Oh my
well, it
God,
is
it's like
compared to what
two
you've been doing.
kilo. It's like 2 kilo of water there straight away, man. Oh
Plus my
man.
snake bandage. I'm carrying a snake bandage, a mandatory kit too as well. So I mean,
Yeah, yeah. The more I run it with these lads up here, I says I'm thinking I might stay on the roads. I don't have to carry anything, like
oh
they're
no, mate.
spoiled that they don't have to carry anything.
Think 50K. Sure, we're coming into 50K. See, after Mallorca, bit of an off
Yeah.
spell, bit of free running, and then it'll be on to the next one, and then the season. Sure, we'll start the season off with 50K or something, surely.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, to be honest with you, I'm really excited to run 100K. Do you know what I mean? It's a while since I did 100K, and I think this will be a really fast 100K. So in my head, it's kind of like, it's going to be so much different than World Champs, and I'm kind of in my head going, this is going to be a fast race. This is going to be a quick race, and I'm excited for that challenge.
What like I want to move off this, but what do we think is a winning time at
See, I
Mallorca?
don't know because like last year, sure, it was cancelled last year. You know what I mean? And then this year they changed the route, so it's all a bit different. You know what I mean? So you can't really go off anything. And then even look, I was looking for a start list, an entrance list, and it's still not up yet. And I just messaged. I messaged their Instagram page today, and they just said it's just not up yet. The entrance list will be up shortly, because it'll be interesting to see who's going to be there. So I just don't know. In my head, I'm kind of thinking 3,500 meters of climbing. You're thinking like maybe 11 hours. You know what I mean? Maybe sub 11 hours, something like that. But I,
Right.
I just don't rightly know. It's very hard to say.
Okay. That's quicker than I thought. I was thinking, yeah, it might be a bit, maybe more like 12, but
Yeah,
let's
yeah,
see. All right.
yeah.
We got to tackle a few things on the news, because look, we've talked about training for a long time, and we don't often talk about new stuff, but let's um let's tackle some of these things. Rod Farvard went for the FKT and the Jean Muir Trail. Really stout time. Like he was going after Francois Den's time. What did you think of Rod going for it against Francois? Like, was he trying to salvage a season? You know some of
Yeah,
my thoughts on this, but I'd love to hear yours.
yeah. I thought it was just an unusual one for him to go after. I didn't think it was very Rod Farvard-ish, if you know what I mean. I was like going, that's you know what I mean? I would never have guessed that he would have took that on. But so then I was thinking, is it because he hasn't had a great season? But then he had a decent race in Chamonix this year. So then I was thinking, I don't know why, and that was pretty soon after that as well. So I was like, are you actually recovered? Are you in the best shape to take on this? And then look, obviously, he didn't get it, and where did he pull up short? Was he like
Oh, it was really close to
40K
the
short?
finish.
Was he?
It,
Yeah,
yeah, it was really close to finishing it off, and he didn't bother even clocking the finish.
yeah. His
But
Strava was really funny. Like what did he put up? Just I can't even remember what he put up, but it was a strange one. Like, and it was like, how come you didn't just finish it out? Like, you were very close. Why didn't you just finish it? And it would have been the same thing anyway. You weren't going to get it. We knew you didn't get it. Why not just finish it and say you didn't get it? Touch, whatever you need to touch there, the plaque or whatever it is there, and just say it didn't happen. Why just pull the plug on it? I found that weird as well.
it feels like he really suffered in even getting to that point.
Mm,
And like, I don't know, like I feel like Rod made the smartest decision in the world betting on himself before when his contract was up with the North Face, went into States, ran a blinder at States,
mm.
and since then he's had great results, but not he hasn't been the top guy. whereas people were putting him into the contender instead of like A minus class.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's Jim, there's Killian. You know, some might say there's Tom. I wouldn't even go Tom in that league. He's maybe more the type of guy who's in and around a Tom that if everything comes together, he could nail it, but it's only come together once at the highest level.
Yeah. But also, I saw some footage of him in during the John Muir Trail, and man, he looked destroyed. Like he was hardly able to walk. Like, and look, I'm a fan of him. I think he's a really
Yeah,
nice lad, and he's a good guy, and he's a super athlete. But like, he was destroyed looking, and I was thinking, I don't get that. Why are you putting yourself in such a hole for something that doesn't? It's not a race, right? It's not an official race or anything like that. I was thinking, for someone like him that's so competitive, that's all about winning Western States, it's all about, getting the win in a race. I was like, I just found that a weird move. But then look, what do I know? Like it could have been on his bucket list, it could have been on his radar, and it was like maybe this is my little adventure that I want to do, you know what I mean, after the season that I've had. But I still can't put a right reason on why he did that. Like,
I honestly think that he was inspired by Killian's states of elevation,
yeah,
and that was like, oh, I'm gonna do something epic too. But like,
yeah. I was swear, I was like half thinking of saying that, and I was thinking, I don't know, like because I was like going, is it because Killian's doing this massive adventure that he wants his little adventure as well? I
because
don't know.
he was out, he was out there on the trail with Killian whenever Killian was in that area. So I definitely think he was inspired from that, but it
Mm,
almost makes it look even worse when you compare what Killian did and what Rod couldn't do.
yeah. But look, again, the other side of it is like that's it. It's off season for him, and it was like I'm going to do this. It's one big adventure. He's going to have his close friends helping him, and let's make a big adventure of it and something like that. And he might have thought that he could have got it and it wouldn't have been as hard as what it was. And then he found out that this is really hard and I'm not in the best shape to be trying this out right now. Because at the end of the day, like he did have a great UTMB, right? Like he did run, he ran really well. Like, after let's say the disappointment of Western States, he turned it around. He had a great race at UTMB, and he shocked a lot of people at UTMB. I would say there was a lot of people, like even us. We probably thought that, what, I don't think he's gonna finish UTMB. That he could drop out of UTMB as well, like But he ran really well in that, and I just found the turnaround was too quick. So what I mean is, like, I think it was more an adventure for himself just to take on that challenge.
Well, if it's just an adventure, you should probably finish the adventure, regardless
Yeah.
of the outcome. Maybe, I mean, whenever you're going after it supported, you're doing it like a race. You kind of are leaving it all out there, but um, yeah, I would have liked to for him to finish it because right now
Mm.
it feels like Rod is potentially hovering in around Jared Hazen territory, where it's like, is he ever gonna get the top again? Like, is he gonna have that result next year? Like, if he doesn't do it next year, he might be worrying when it's coming into contract talks.
Yeah, yeah, the Jared Hazen effect, is it? Yeah, yeah.
Right.
It's like,
What did you think about Killian's states of elevation? We're not gonna do the stats. Everyone knows it was fucking massive. It was epic.
mm,
And there was a great Substack article by Trailmix, Matt Walsh's newsletter, and he sort of was saying that um, Normal as a brand are communicating Killian's voice, which I totally agree with. Like Normal doesn't exist without Killian. That is their brand values, um, their brand language. But I also think Killian does a project every year because he needs something to do. He didn't want to do UTMB. He's doing these epic things, which are very good at for documenting and photographing him in the kit, and like the amount of money they save on hiring models. If you think about like what Hoka are spending on catalog models, and can we need to get runners with tattoos for this photo shoot out to agencies, casting calls. All Normal have to do is follow Killian on a project and photograph him and make blurry pictures and all these types of things. So I do honestly think this is normal marketing, and
Yeah,
it was in
yeah.
America because normal sales are poor in America. What did you think of
Uh,
that?
I, all of it is deadly, and it is Killian, and it's who doesn't want to follow Killian around the place? But what happens? What happens when Killian is finished? What happens when Killian can't do these big adventures? And what happens when he finishes racing? Who do they like put on that pedestal then as a brand to make that brand interesting and relatable? You know what I mean? Because it seems like all of their other athletes are in the shadow of Killian. Everybody's in the shadow of Killian. But I mean, especially all of Normal's athletes are in the shadow. Like, apart from Elisine, you know what I mean? There's nobody really making big noise. You know what I mean? And even Elisine couldn't carry what Killian's carrying, if you get me.
Not even a percent of it. But look, I think a good example of this is look at the mileage that La Sportiva get out of Anton Krupicka, who never
Mm,
races, who just does like adventures and things, and not anywhere near the level of what Killian would be doing in terms of scale or volume or anything like. And he is still there as a great ambassador and model for that brand. And I just think
yeah,
Killian has probably decades left in him of doing this kind of stuff.
yeah. I also think where they could go or direction they could go from reading the same article that you were talking about earlier. Like when he is done, Killian is a family man. He's married to Emily and they've got a little kid. And Normal as a brand could very much use that. And then that becomes, following Normal Killian as a family man and then just following him doing cool adventures around Romsdal or something like that at home. And I could see it, that been very watchable. You know what I mean? You could do so much around that. You could make unbelievable videos following him doing his thing at home, mowing the lawn, and then heading out on a big, massive adventure, up in the mountains. Like, and we'd all buy into that. It'd be the very same as like the minute I see Anton Kopicka do something, I'm all over it. Like, and he ain't racing. I don't know. Like, I haven't watched or cared that Anton Kopicka hasn't raced in years. I just want to see him do cool stuff, and all he has to do is kind of stand there, run up a mountain, and I'll watch that because it's Anton, and it'll be the very same for Killian, I think.
Always disappointed whenever Anton goes out running with a t-shirt on. It's like, get that off, mate. Get the top
Yeah,
off.
yeah,
Last thing on Killian, I think the problem with relying on Killian and him aging through to another, phase of his life is that relies on the consumer, us also sticking with the sport for another 15 years. Like if that is the case, then we're still buying Normal or whatever in 10 years. That's fine. But if they're following Killian as he moves into another phase of life, that's not going to attract the people that aren't running yet, that people aren't trail runners, that people aren't ultra runners. So
yeah.
they're not gonna, they need new people to attract new people to the sport. Otherwise, they're just gonna Normal will age out with us.
Ye- Yeah, I'll actually tell you a sad stat. I won't mention her name, but like when I was at the Worlds there was one of the girls on the Irish team, she's there, she's an athlete, trail running, and she didn't know who Killian was because she's so young. Yeah, she didn't know, but I mean, this girl is young, like,
It
and I'm
doesn't
just
matter.
thinking, this is, yeah, but But that's what you're saying is like, if they don't keep Killian relevant in this world, who do they put in front of the brand to make their brand relevant? Like that's where I kind of worry for them as a brand, you know what I mean? Because it has been slow for Normal, I think, in terms of growth as a brand compared to like Hoka, compared to look at Nike, ACG, even the way they're coming back into the game, you know what I mean? You've got all these other brands that are up there right now. Adidas, Terex are doing the same. Even Kailas are coming in hot. Like Kailas are even probably making more moves than what Normal are doing, So, and I get it. They're looking to do it their way, and their way seems to be a much slower, patient way. But time waits for no one.
Normal are doing it all off the back of Killian, and they're
Mm,
signing other athletes to try and build out that roster, different distances, and going that route. Whereas look at Kailas sponsoring the Tour X series, sponsoring regional athletes as well, athletes in Ireland, in the UK, France, Italy. So they've got a totally different model to it, and they have that
mm,
mountain club, which is I think the best way to look at that is it's like ambassadors who are also shredders. So
yeah,
like Dave Ryan, for example, he's not a Kailas pro. He's part of the Kailas Fuga Mountain Club. So he's by day a physio, and by night an absolute weapon on the trails.
yeah.
So they've gone a totally different route. So it's really hard to compare the two. Also,
Yeah.
Kailas would have so much more money than Normal. I think Normal are trying to gain traction off of how many millions of followers can we get off Killian, because a percentage of those followers will spend money.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, next up on the docket, are you following this Strava Garmin bullshit? What a load
Uh,
of rubbish, mate. What do you
yeah.
think?
Uh, I'm not saying I'm confused by it, but I think it's a bit stupid. Like we'll say, right, so Strava are taking Garmin to court, even though Garmin haven't accepted liability or anything yet. Nothing's been said from Garmin, I think, up until now, right? Until I think they're waiting until like the 1st of November or something when it goes to court or something. That's the last day where they can object to what Strava are saying. But Strava are saying that Garmin are stealing stuff off them that they copyrighted 10 years ago or whatever when they started, and it was a partnership, and then now Garmin are kind of moving and doing their own thing, and their watches are doing their own thing. But then the other side of it is then that Garmin are now like Garmin wearers are on about boycotting Strava and saying that they would sooner get off Strava than get rid of their watch. Because look, out of all the watches, and we're talking Coros, Suunto, and Garmin, let's say they're the main three players in the game, there is way more Garmin users than any other brand. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I'd say 1 in 5 athletes is wearing, or five, like if you have 5 athletes, 4 of them have a Garmin, one of them is something else. I think it's definitely that's the ratio, at least that, like.
Yeah. The thing with Garmin is like I remember chatting to a senior person at that company maybe a year and a half ago, and their aim was to convert people that were wearing the Apple Watch to be Garmin wearers. Like they're not going after the runner, they're not going after the trail runner, they're going after Apple wearers. That's where they see growth. So that's why they're adding in things like Spotify and like all of these things that you don't see on a Chorus, for example. And Chorus initially felt like it was a trail running brand, and then they went into road running, then they got into climbing, and then Sunto, it felt like it started off as a trail running brand, although I think it was a dive watch
A
before
dive
that.
watch, yeah, yeah.
So it feels like they've come from different places, but like Garmin is the most used brand that you would see out on the trails. But rather than going too deep into this, the whole thing to me just smells of this like divisiveness that's happening in the world, and it would just I would just go. you know what? Fuck Strava. I don't really care. It would even make me think I'm just gonna put my watch in my pocket. Like some we were chatting in the training segment earlier on. Like sometimes I'll just take my watch off. I'll start it and then I'll just take it off my wrist because I'm using the heart rate monitor on the arm. I just put it in my pocket. Like I don't need, I'm not looking at it. I know where I'm gonna run, or sometimes I'm just like, I'll just turn away from a hill or I'll turn into a hill depending on how I feel. That's how I generally will run. I'll just go, I'm more motivated to turn left or turn right. So they make all of this aggression between these watch companies and Strava. I'm like, I might just stick my watch in my pocket.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
What would it make you do?
Oh, I don't know. I think I didn't pay much heed when I first seen it, like, and I was just like, look, I like Strava, right? I've never owned a Garmin either, like, but I love that I can log my run onto Strava, and I think I'd miss that. You know what I mean? I really would miss that. So if I was, let's say, a Garmin wearer and I couldn't ever load my run up onto Strava, I'd kind of be upset about that because look, everyone knows that if it's not on Strava, it didn't happen. Like, and I know that's not true and that's ridiculous, but we've come to love Strava. Well, I've come to love Strava
You're a
for
big
it being
deal on
my running
Strava.
log. Like, yeah, big deal on Strava. But I just enjoy Strava and I like it, you know, and I don't know. I just kind of hope that they can settle it and quit being, you know, a bit bitchy towards each other and maybe Garmin just say, look, if this was agreed 10 years ago, maybe they shouldn't do that, but I'm guessing they will come to some kind of compromise, you know.
Yeah. All right. Moving on from that. Here's an interesting one. You're probably like, you messaged me, what the hell is this quantum physics thing? Right? I gotta talk about this. 'Cause you know how we talk about, you know, luck. You make your own
Mm.
luck or whatever. It's more of a mindset. And you know, that it doesn't fucking matter. Do it anyway, get it done. All of these types of things, they are things that you believe in, mantras and styles that you kind of live your life or that really your training. There was a breakthrough in quantum physics, right? And they found a pattern in luck. And
Okay.
what this means is you haven't, if you were lucky, you were always destined to be lucky. There is like a rhythm, like a pattern that they've seen in luck. So if you win the lottery next week, you were always going to win the lottery. Like this
Okay.
pattern is part of your life. So my wife, Sarah, has always said to me, you're always lucky. Like CCC, first time, TDS, first time, UTMB, second time. Like she said, you're always lucky, I'm always unlucky. And I would say to her, well,
It's destiny. It's
it's,
destiny.
yes, it is.
Yeah, it's not like the law of attraction where if I say it and I believe it, it's going to happen. You're saying it's destiny. You were born to to be lucky, like.
Yes. And what this means is
I like it.
if luck is on this pattern, this rhythm, which is predictable, that means that it's highly likely that other aspects, or maybe every aspect of life, is also on a pattern.
Okay.
So
Wow.
your whole life is determined. Like the age that you die, the age that you do anything, that is already predefined. And the other thing to consider is that this also means that
That's bad luck. If you're destined to be lucky, then
if
some
you're
poor
unlucky,
fucker is
you
destined to
might
be
not ever be
unlucky.
able to change it.
Yeah, yeah.
Hard luck.
Hard luck, yeah, yeah. Like I, like it's funny because I've often said this, were things that have happened in my life, let's say, right? For example, and I would say, well, I won that race and then I won this race and then I won that race. And I'd be explaining about how that race went. But I would also always add in that I got a bit of luck that day because where that qualifier was set really suited me more so than somebody else. If that was on a different course, I don't think I would have won that, you know. And those kind of things have happened a lot, and I've always felt that I always got that little bit of luck. So maybe there is something in that where you're just. But a lot of the other thing, I would always say that that's a positive mindset. Is sometimes you can tell yourself that, you know, if you say it enough, like the law of attraction, I'm a big believer in the law of attraction, that if you say it and you work hard enough and you really believe it, then it will happen. But that could be just something that was predetermined anyway. So the reason I'm thinking about all those positive things is because I was destined to be a lucky person. So I'm a positive person because of that. Would that be something that would be part of that as well?
Yeah, but just because if luck was predefined, it doesn't mean that the law of attraction means nothing, because
Mm,
you could still believe, like, let's say that you were lucky because the Irish qualifier was in the morns, right?
mm,
But you still came up and stayed in the morns and trained. So maybe you were lucky that it was there, but you still did everything else to make sure that you were successful.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And that is
yeah.
kind of like the law of attraction in the sense that you manifested all of the things you thought it was going to take to be successful, and then you just went out and saw if it worked.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But you'll always have that little bit in your head that I think I got a little bit lucky as well. Like there's nothing, but then there's loads of times where I was unlucky. You know, like you'll always think, you know, if good things keep happening, you know. And look, I got into Western States, little things like that. That was straight after, you know. And then you think, oh, I got lucky there. I got lucky there. I got lucky there. But there's been plenty of times in my life where I haven't had that luck. So where does quantum physics fit into that? Like, you know, if you're going to be lucky, does that not mean you're just always lucky? You know, if
Oh, well,
it's
no, surely it can't, because like the pattern of your luck doesn't necessarily mean that everything would be a success. Like if your
okay,
pattern is luck, 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 bad luck,
yeah.
then you're still going to believe that, oh, I'm lucky because 3 out of 4 times you were lucky.
Well, for me, 2020, what year is it? I had to ask this, hey. I'm so confused, right? It's 2025, right? 2025 has been the year of quantum physics for Ricky Wynn, if that's the case, because I will say that this year has been such a lucky year that, you know, all these things just kind of fell into place, you know, and so I'm all for it. I'm all for it, yeah.
So for the audience, remember, if you're lucky today or tomorrow, it's nothing that you did. It's just physics, just quantum physics. It was always predetermined to happen. So I actually,
But
whenever I
but
thought
but
about it, I
but but
thought
we have to work hard. I don't give a shite. You can't just wait for Lady Luck to get you there. You have to put the time in and you have to put the effort in, and then I still think quantum physics will then give you the push, maybe, you know what I mean? But you have already put some of the wheels in motion.
you were lucky to get into Western States. That was only luck. No
Mm,
work made you any more likely to get into that race, but you only finished with that time in that position because of the work that you put in, right?
yeah,
And you could say, how far back do you want to go? Like, how long have you known Chris? That
yeah,
gave you the opportunity to go out there and train. That's because you were putting yourself out there and doing things and connecting with people like that. So luck requires work as well.
yeah,
Like you have to marry hard work and luck to have success,
yeah. I like
right?
this. I like this. Yeah, I hadn't a clue where this conversation was
You
going
didn't
to
know anything
go.
about that. You only knew the
No.
title.
Yeah, yeah. So no, that was good. That was good. I enjoyed that. Yeah.
Last thing before we wind it down and let Ricky Wynn get off to his bed. New change of rules at the Western States 100, now allowing poles and traction devices. I'm guessing they mean micro spikes. What do you think of them allowing poles at states? I'm gonna throw it out there and say, what triggered the change in rules?
Mm,
I don't never heard anyone go, man, I wish I had poles for the climb up from the river. Like,
yeah.
is there a climb in states that's more than like 300 meters or something? I don't know.
Yeah, and look, I'm sure that there will be people that will give out to you and me for what we're saying, and they won't agree, and they'll say, look, polls should be a choice, and anyone that wants to use them should be able to use them, and if they get a benefit from them, they should get a benefit from them, and that's fine, but I just don't think that Western States is a race that needs polls. I think that for me, right, they like go as far back as when I first started this race, it was Western States that hooked me into this sport, you know, and it was that piece of that slice of Americana or of America where, you know, you're just seeing lads running around with no shirts on, just a short pair of shorts, and they're running a 100-mile race. And none of them are using poles, you know, from as far back as whenever it started. And I just love that raw simplicity of that race, you know what I mean? And it's always been the same. And why change that rule now? I just don't think that there's a climb big enough to need it. Yes, there's lots of descending in it, but again, there's nothing too steep where you think that, oh, do you know what, poles would get me out of this hole, you know? And I, for me, it's a hard no. I would hate to see poles at Western States. And I know I'm not at the back of the pack. I know I'm not there, but I just don't think you've the escarpment. You'll be up the escarpment in, you know, an hour and 20 minutes max, I think. You know what I mean? Maybe an hour and a half max. You know, it's not like UTMB where you're climbing for 3 hours. It's not like TDS where you're climbing for 3 hours or something like Tour. You know what I mean? You don't need poles to climb for an hour, you know?
Like, take the escarpment out of it. That is the biggest climb, right?
Yeah,
Like, it's all downhill after that with, obviously there's ups and downs the whole way, but it feels like if people have poles, I think it reduces the amount of running that they would end up doing. Do you know
yeah,
what I mean? Like, it feels like even if you're death marching, you might be able to shuffle. But
yeah,
if you got your poles, you're like, oh, I put my poles away. And, I think someone at the back of the pack that's ending up pulling out poles might run less. They might end up being slower. Like,
yeah,
you ever see some people and they're marching and like, oh man, that's at best flat and you're
yeah.
using poles.
Yeah, and then like, what do you do with the pacers? What do you do with the pacer? What's the point in having a pacer if you're using poles? You know, how is somebody going to pace somebody else that's walking really slow with poles? You know what I mean? Where a pacer would be like, come on, let's get you moving, let's get you moving, gotta get you moving, gotta get you moving. It's going to be, yeah, yeah, maybe, yeah. Yeah, I just don't know. Just for me, I wouldn't like to see it. You know, I know that they're on about changing the crampons and stuff like that. Again, I raced where there was no snow. I'm sure there's been other years where there's been loads of snow up high and stuff like that, and maybe a pair of crampons might have worked for somebody up there. I can't see too many people actually needing or wanting to use them. You know, but if poles comes into it, there will be more people that would want to use the poles just because in their head they will think that, oh, well, I'll probably move better with the poles or it'll help me more in the poles. But it's, like I said, it's not UTMB. There's no big climbs in it. Most of the climbs, you're up and down them pretty quick, you know. And and I know they're saying, so it'll only be the high country, right? I'd like to think it'll be on the high country. And maybe if they did that, maybe if they made a rule where they say you can only have poles in the high country, and once you get to Forest Hill, that's it. No poles allowed after
No,
Forest
that's
Hill.
not what the rule is. It's like you're allowed poles and you can pick them up and drop them off at any points along the course
Yeah,
with crew or bags or whatever. So you can choose them for sections and drop them for sections and pick them up again. And for me, like, are we going to see a pole sponsor at Western States? That's the question. Like, are we going to see a pole sponsor at Western States now that they're allowing poles in the race? Will Lecky be the new
Mm.
brand partner for the Western States 100 in 2026.
Yeah, it'd be good. How will they do the marketing on that? Some lad just putting his poles out for a ski slope, like something a non-technical hill, like because at the end of the day, that's what it is. Like it's a non-technical hill. It's just you can walk up it. You don't need poles to walk up that hill, like.
All right, well said. That is the end. In terms of community racers, let's shout some of them out. I know Nicole and Patrick ran the Kodiak 50K, and then there was a ton of runners in the Sky Running World Series event in the Mourne Skyline, and the various distances as well. I can't think of any others, although I may have missed some. It's hard to keep track of it. Any?
Only no, just one mention on the Sky running race in the Mourns. Very, very cool for us as Irish lads to see. Who've ran in the Mourns plenty of times. Just very, very cool to see that caliber of athlete racing and shredding up in the Mourns. I just thought that was super, super cool. Like, I think 6 Spanish lads and a French guy in the top 10. Like, that's really cool. Like.
You know what was two takeaways from that was it was strange that there wasn't more British, more English and Scottish athletes coming over because historically we would have seen like top fell runners come over for that event.
Yeah.
Jasmine Paris has been over for that event before. Um, and then the other thing was that race has never had good weather ever.
No. No.
Like I saw the video of Manuel Morales running along the skyline of the Mourne Wall, and it was pea soup fog. I'm like that
Yeah.
race, like unbelievable.
Yeah.
Those guys came over and ran in that mountain range and saw none of it.
Yeah. 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 It never does. It just never does. Yeah.
All right, closing it out. This weekend we have the Diagonal de Fou on Reunion Island. That is part of the Fantasy League. So if you're playing that, jump in, get your pick submitted. Ricky, no doubt you will do none of that. But I am in a hot competition for against Josh and Travis, and I'm coming under a bit of pressure. So I've already made my picks, and I need a good result. There's only a few more races left in the season. We've got Diagonal de Fou, we've got Templier next week, and then
If Josh does beat you, Aaron, I'll do my best to beat Josh because Josh is going to Mallorca.
yeah, okay, means nothing to me. I need these small victories, and then later on we have Ultra Trail Cape Town. That might be a close on the season, but we will see. Podcast dropping on Thursday, nearly 2 hours with second place finisher at the Tour de Géant, Martin Perrier.
Yeah,
If you
class.
if you enjoyed the Brian Mullins podcast, which people absolutely loved, numbers and that are
Yeah,
great. Loads of comments, loads of messages. Martin Perrier one is also amazing. Really interesting conversation. I think it's like an hour and 50 something minutes long. Drops on Thursday. Check that one out. If you've got any questions or any comments, stick them down below. We will do our best to respond to them. Or you can jump into the Trail Talk WhatsApp community and talk shit to nearly 500 other people. They will talk shit back to you. But it's all about trail running, and it's all done with a bit of banter. That's how we operate here. Ricky, was that us for the day?
that's us for the day. That's me for the night.
Off to bed, Ricky. All right, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your weeks, and we will see you soon. Peace.
Peace.
Because it's Trail Talk Live every Monday for you, Tuesday for me. Talk about the news and banter. We talk about the training, talk about what's happening in the sport, and we have a bit of crack along the way.